What if I told you that the person lying next to you tonight might not be the person you think they are? That behind the smile, the I love you, the shared memories, there could be an entire hidden world, a secret life built on lies, deception, and betrayal? Here's the disturbing truth. Research shows that nearly 1 in 4 married individuals will cheat on their spouse at least once in their lifetime. But what's even more unsettling is this: when researchers surveyed people who had affairs, they found something shocking. Most cheaters don't feel guilty. They don't regret it. In fact, they reported their affairs as highly satisfying, both sexually and emotionally. So why do people betray those they claim to love? Why does someone look you in the eye, say they're committed, and then shatter everything you built together? And perhaps most importantly, how do they live with themselves afterward? Today, we're diving deep into the dark psychology of cheating and betrayal. We'll explore the hidden mechanisms in the human brain that make infidelity possible, the psychological tricks cheaters use to justify their actions, and the devastating trauma that betrayal inflicts on its victims. By the end of this, you'll understand the unsettling truth about human nature, and you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Let's start with something that might surprise you. When someone cheats, their brain literally becomes addicted, not just to the person, but to the act of cheating itself. Neuroscience has revealed that infidelity triggers a powerful cocktail of brain chemicals that creates what researchers call a chemical addiction. When someone engages in an affair, their brain floods with dopamine, the same neurotransmitter associated with drugs like cocaine and heroin. The excitement, the secrecy, the forbidden nature of the relationship creates a surge of pleasure that reinforces the behavior, making them want more and more. But it doesn't stop there. Norepinephrine increases focus and energy, creating an obsessive preoccupation with the affair partner. You've probably seen this: the cheater who can't stop checking their phone, seems distracted, whose mind is clearly somewhere else. That's not just guilt, it's chemical obsession. Then there's oxytocin and vasopressin, the bonding hormones. These chemicals are released during intimate moments, creating a sense of deep connection with the affair partner. And here's the twisted part: cortisol, the stress hormone, actually adds to the thrill. The risk, the secrecy, the danger of being caught, it all contributes to an intoxicating high that the cheater's brain begins to crave. Think about that for a moment. The very act of betraying someone you love activates the same reward pathways in the brain as life-threatening addictions. It's a feedback loop. The affair triggers pleasure. The brain associates the affair with reward, and when the affair is threatened or ends, the person experiences genuine withdrawal symptoms: anxiety, depression, irritability. To alleviate these feelings, they seek out another affair, perpetuating the cycle. This is why serial cheaters exist. It's not always about the partner they're with, it's about the addiction to the act itself. But here's where it gets truly fascinating, because most people who cheat aren't psychopaths. They're not evil masterminds with no conscience. In fact, many cheaters genuinely believe they're good people. So how do they reconcile their actions with their self-image? The answer lies in a psychological phenomenon called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance occurs when someone holds two contradictory beliefs at the same time, creating intense psychological discomfort. For a cheater, the dissonance sounds like this: I am a good, honest, loyal person, versus I am lying to and betraying my partner. These two beliefs cannot coexist peacefully in the mind. So what does the brain do? It performs mental gymnastics to resolve the conflict. Researchers have found that cheaters employ sophisticated rationalization mechanisms to reframe their infidelity as justified. They create elaborate mental frameworks where their behavior becomes acceptably unnecessary. Common rationalizations include: my partner doesn't appreciate me, I wasn't getting my needs met, I deserve to be happy, or it just happened, I didn't plan it. Notice the pattern? They shift from being the perpetrator to being the victim. They externalize responsibility, blaming their partner, their circumstances, or even the affair partner for seducing them. One study on cognitive dissonance and infidelity found that unfaithful men who engaged in face-to-face affairs were more likely to change their self-concept, telling themselves, for example, this new relationship makes me more exciting, or I'm more fun with this person. By redefining who they are, They reduce their psychological discomfort and continue the betrayal. But there's another psychological tool cheaters use: compartmentalization. Compartmentalization is the ability to separate conflicting thoughts and emotions into different mental boxes. For cheaters, this means creating a wall between their affair and their primary relationship. They genuinely believe or convince themselves that what happens in the affair has nothing to do with their marriage or committed relationship. Think about it. Have you ever heard a cheater say, "I never thought about you or the kids when I was with them"? As shocking as it sounds, they're often telling the truth. They didn't think about you because they compartmentalized you out of their mind completely. It's like having two separate lives running on parallel tracks that never intersect. In one compartment is the affair exciting, secretive, intoxicating. In the other is the stable relationship, the home, the responsibilities. And here's the most disturbing part. When they're in the affair compartment, their brain essentially shuts down their moral reasoning. They don't feel the guilt because they've locked it away in a different mental box. It's only when discovery happens, when those compartments collapse into each other, that the full weight of their actions crashes down on them. While anyone can cheat under the right circumstances, there are certain personality types that are far more prone to infidelity, and understanding these patterns can be crucial to protecting yourself. Let's talk about narcissistic cheating patterns. People with narcissistic traits exhibit distinct infidelity behaviors that differ from conventional cheating. At the core of narcissism is an inflated sense of self-importance and a profound lack of empathy. Narcissists view their partners not as equals, but as assets that meet their needs. Once those needs aren't met perfectly, the partner becomes disposable. Research has identified several telltale narcissistic cheating patterns. First, there's serial cheating, moving rapidly from one partner to another because the novelty wears off quickly. Narcissists need constant admiration, and a single partner can't provide the endless validation they crave. Some narcissists even maintain multiple partners simultaneously, a harem, if you will, ensuring there's always a source of praise and attention. Then there's the gaslighting and manipulation. When confronted about cheating, narcissists don't admit wrongdoing, they turn it around. They'll make you doubt your own perceptions, accuse you of being paranoid, or flip the script entirely and claim you're the one who's untrustworthy. This projection is textbook narcissism. They accuse their partner of the very thing they're doing. What's particularly chilling is the lack of remorse. While a normal person who cheats might experience genuine guilt and shame, narcissists rationalize their infidelity by blaming external factors. "You didn't give me enough attention. I felt unfulfilled. I deserved more." The betrayal is always someone else's fault, never theirs. But narcissism isn't the only personality factor at play. Research has consistently found that certain traits correlate with higher rates of infidelity. High neuroticism, chronic anxiety, moodiness, emotional instability predicts cheating because these individuals may seek external validation or escape from their inner turmoil. Low conscientiousness and poor impulse control make resisting temptation nearly impossible. These are people who act on immediate desires without considering long-term consequences. Then there's attachment theory, one of the most powerful predictors of infidelity. People with anxious attachment styles fear abandonment and constantly seek reassurance. Paradoxically, this fear can drive them to cheat. Some cheat as a desperate bid for validation, proof that they're desirable. Others cheat preemptively, thinking, "If I cheat first, I won't be devastated when they inevitably leave me." It's a twisted form of self-protection. On the flip side, people with avoidant attachment styles struggle with intimacy and emotional closeness. For them, cheating becomes a way to maintain distance and avoid vulnerability. They might use infidelity as an exit strategy, creating a crisis that allows them to leave. Without having to confront their fear of intimacy directly, studies have shown that both anxious and avoidant attachment styles significantly predict marital infidelity. The common thread: both styles reflect deep-rooted insecurity and difficulty forming healthy, secure bonds. Now, here's a question that might make you uncomfortable. Is betrayal hardwired into human nature? From an evolutionary psychology perspective, infidelity is not a disorder or a moral failing, it's a mating strategy that has persisted throughout human history. Let me explain. For most of human evolution, reproductive success meant passing on your genes to as many offspring as possible. For males, the evolutionary logic is straightforward. Mating with multiple partners increases the chances of producing more offspring. From a purely biological standpoint, infidelity could be adaptive for men. But what about women? Evolutionary psychologists have debated this for decades. One prominent theory is called the dual mating strategy. This hypothesis suggests that women evolved to seek different things from different partners. They pair high-quality genes from one partner, typically someone physically attractive and genetically fit, with parental investment and resources from another partner. In other words, women might cheat to get the best of both worlds. Genetic benefits from the affair partner and stability from the primary partner. A recent study tested this theory and found compelling evidence. Women who had affairs rated their affair partners as significantly more physically attractive than their primary partners, but rated their primary partners as better at parenting and providing stability. The pattern suggested they were cheating up in terms of physical attraction while maintaining a partner who was better suited for long-term commitment and child-rearing. Interestingly, men showed the same pattern, prioritizing physical attractiveness in affair partners and parenting qualities in primary partners. Now, before you think this justifies infidelity, let's be clear. Just because a behavior has evolutionary origins doesn't make it moral or acceptable. Humans have evolved many impulses: aggression, jealousy, tribalism that we consciously choose to control because we live in complex social structures that require cooperation, trust, and ethical behavior. But understanding the evolutionary roots helps explain why infidelity persists across cultures and throughout history. It's a reminder that betrayal isn't just a personal failing, it's a deeply embedded aspect of human psychology that we must actively work against. Let's shift now to the other side of this dark story, the betrayed partner. Because while we've explored the psychology of the cheater, we cannot ignore the devastating trauma inflicted on those who are betrayed. Betrayal doesn't just hurt your feelings. It doesn't just make you sad. Betrayal rewires your brain and nervous system in ways that mirror post-traumatic stress disorder. When you discover infidelity, your brain goes into overdrive, releasing a surge of stress hormones that flood your system. The emotional response includes shock, rage, shame, intense anxiety, and a sense of disorientation that researchers describe as shattering your sense of reality. You question everything: your judgment, your worth, your perception of the relationship. The person you trusted most becomes a stranger, and the life you thought you had disintegrates in an instant. Researchers studying betrayal trauma have identified symptoms that closely resemble PTSD. These include intrusive thoughts and flashbacks, vivid unwanted memories of the betrayal that invade your mind without warning, triggered by songs, places, text messages, or seemingly random events. Some betrayed partners experience flashbacks not just of what they saw or learned, but of imagined scenarios, mental images of their partner with the affair partner that feel unbearably real. Hypervigilance is a state of constant alertness where you're scanning for signs of danger or deception. You check phones, monitor social media, analyze every late meeting or unexplained absence. Your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode, unable to relax even in safe situations. Nightmares, intrusive dreams about the infidelity that wake you in distress, robbing you of restorative sleep night after night. Emotional numbing. Some people shut down completely, detaching from their emotions as a defense mechanism. This creates distance, not just from the betrayer, but from everyone, leading to profound loneliness. Physical symptoms. Betrayal trauma produces tangible physical effects: insomnia, nausea, anxiety attacks, headaches, weakened immune system, changes in appetite. These aren't just emotional reactions, they're nervous system. It's dysregulation caused by being triggered into chronic survival mode. And here's what makes betrayal trauma so insidious. Unlike trauma from external sources, a car accident, a natural disaster, a random act of violence, betrayal comes from someone you trusted for safety and love. The very person who is supposed to protect you becomes the source of your pain. This creates a unique psychological wound because it destroys not just a relationship, but your fundamental belief in trust itself. Studies have found that people who experience betrayal, trauma, often struggle to form new intimate relationships. They become suspicious of others' motives, fear vulnerability, emotionally withdraw to protect themselves from being hurt again. The trauma creates a worldview where danger lurks in closeness, where love becomes a risk too great to take. Here's something most people don't realize. Both the betrayed and the betrayer can suffer from what psychologists call moral injury. Moral injury occurs when someone violates their own core values, leading to intense shame, grief, and a sense of meaninglessness. For the betrayed partner, moral injury arises when staying in the relationship feels like betraying yourself. As one woman described it, "I feel like I would be giving up my dignity if I stay. Wendy isn't making me feel this way. I'm doing this to myself. In staying, I am violating myself, my values about what is and isn't acceptable." This internal conflict, wanting to repair the relationship, while feeling ashamed of choosing someone who betrayed you, creates a deep wound that can stall the healing process completely. But the betrayer also experiences moral injury. Many unfaithful partners genuinely profess love for the person they betrayed. They didn't cheat because they're morally bankrupt. They cheated despite deeply held values about loyalty, honesty, and integrity. When the affair is discovered and they reconnect with those values, they experience a profound self-betrayal. "How can I be this person?" they ask. "I always believed I was someone with integrity. How do I live with what I've done?" This self-betrayal creates crushing guilt and shame that can become so overwhelming it prevents genuine remorse and accountability, the very things needed for healing. Without addressing this moral injury in both partners, recovery from infidelity becomes nearly impossible. In today's hyper-connected digital world, betrayal has evolved. Physical affairs are no longer the only form of infidelity. Enter microcheating, a term that describes small, seemingly harmless actions that cross emotional boundaries and erode trust. What does microcheating look like? Flirtatious texts with a coworker, secretly messaging an ex, liking someone's photos in a suggestive manner, sharing intimate thoughts and feelings with someone outside your relationship while hiding it from your partner. These behaviors might not involve physical intimacy, but the secrecy and emotional investment are just as damaging. Psychologists have found that microcheating is primarily triggered by emotional dissatisfaction in the primary relationship. When someone feels emotionally neglected or misunderstood, they may seek validation elsewhere, not through a full-blown affair, but through small acts of connection with others. Each act in isolation seems insignificant, but collectively, they signal that one partner is emotionally investing outside the relationship. The danger of microcheating is that it normalizes boundary violations. What starts as an innocent text can evolve into late-night phone calls, which can progress to emotional intimacy and eventually physical infidelity. It's a slippery slope where each step feels minor, making it easier to justify the next. And in the digital age, the opportunities are endless. Social media, dating apps, direct messages, all provide platforms for connection that can remain hidden from a partner. The line between acceptable interaction and emotional betrayal has become blurred, creating confusion and conflict in modern relationships. So how do you recognize betrayal before it destroys you? Are there warning signs that someone might be unfaithful? While no single behavior guarantees infidelity, researchers have identified patterns that often precede cheating. Sudden changes in behavior, unexplained absences, increased secrecy, new hobbies or friendships that exclude you, drastic alterations in routine without reasonable explanation, emotional detachment, reduced empathy, reduced interest in your experiences, withdrawal from intimacy. The cheater creates emotional distance to minimize guilt and avoid the cognitive dissonance of betraying someone they care about. Guarding devices and accounts, fiercely protected phones, hidden passwords, defensive reactions when you ask innocent questions. In narcissistic cheating, this often comes with projection. They accuse you of being untrustworthy while they're the ones hiding secrets. Lack of accountability, refusing to take responsibility for mistakes, blaming others, justifying questionable behavior. When someone consistently avoids owning their actions, it signals a deeper problem with integrity. Disregard for boundaries, constantly pushing limits. making you feel uncomfortable for expressing your needs, dismissing your concerns. Respect for boundaries is fundamental to trust, and its absence is a serious red flag. But perhaps the most important warning sign is your intuition. Research shows that gut feelings are often your subconscious mind picking up on subtle inconsistencies, micro-expressions, tonal shifts, behavioral patterns that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed. If something feels off, don't dismiss it. Trust is built on a foundation of transparency and consistency. When that foundation cracks, your instincts know it. Can relationships survive infidelity? Can trust ever truly be rebuilt? The answer is complex. Research shows that recovery is possible, but it requires immense commitment from both partners and typically takes 18 to 24 months of focused work. The healing process follows predictable stages. First comes the crisis, managing the initial shock and emotional tsunami. Then stabilization, finding solid ground and setting emergency boundaries. Next is understanding, making sense of what happened and why, without excuses or justifications. Processing the trauma is perhaps the most difficult stage. The betrayed partner must learn to manage triggers and flashbacks, while the unfaithful partner must witness their pain without becoming defensive. This requires the betrayer to develop genuine empathy, to feel the weight of what they've done without deflecting or minimizing. Accountability is crucial. The unfaithful partner must fully own their actions, demonstrate transparency, answer questions honestly, and make necessary life changes, changing jobs if needed. Cutting contact with the affair partner, sharing passwords and schedules. This isn't about control, it's about rebuilding safety. Rebuilding trust happens through consistent actions over time. Think of it like reconstructing a house. After a disaster, you need both the right materials and the right blueprint. Grand gestures mean nothing if daily behaviors don't align. Trust is earned in small moments of reliability, honesty, and follow-through. Eventually, if both partners commit to the process, reconciliation becomes possible. This isn't about returning to the old relationship. That relationship is gone. It's about building something new, something stronger, with deeper communication, clearer boundaries, and a renewed appreciation for what was almost lost. Some couples emerge from infidelity stronger than before. The crisis forced them to address issues they'd been ignoring, to communicate on a level they never had before, to rebuild with intentionality instead of complacency. As one therapist observed, the pain carved deeper spaces in us, but now those spaces hold more love than I thought possible. But healing requires willingness from both sides. If the betrayer refuses accountability, if the betrayed partner cannot move toward forgiveness, if either remains stuck in defensiveness or victimhood, recovery will fail. Let's return to where we started. Why do people cheat? Why do they betray those they claim to love? The uncomfortable truth is this: infidelity is not a simple moral failing. It's a complex interplay of brain chemistry, psychological defense mechanisms, personality traits, evolutionary impulses, and unmet emotional needs. It's cognitive dissonance and compartmentalization. It's addiction and escapism. It's fear of intimacy and desperate need for validation. Some people cheat because they're narcissists who view others as objects. Some cheat because of attachment wounds from childhood that make vulnerability terrifying. Some cheat because of situational factors: alcohol, opportunity, stress that impair judgment. Some cheat because they're genuinely unhappy in their relationship, but lack the courage or communication skills to address it honestly. And here's the most unsettling part. Research shows that many cheaters don't see themselves as bad people. They've constructed elaborate mental frameworks that allow them to maintain their self-image while engaging in betrayal. They've compartmentalized their actions so effectively that they can kiss their partner goodnight and feel nothing. Guilt, no remorse, just the intoxicating high of their secret life. But for the betrayed, the trauma is undeniable. The shattered trust, the intrusive thoughts, the hypervigilance, the loss of self-worth, these aren't dramatic exaggerations. They're real, documented psychological wounds that can take years to heal. So what does this mean for you? For all of us navigating the complex, often treacherous landscape of human relationships, it means that trust is precious and fragile. It means that communication and transparency are not optional. They're the bedrock of any healthy partnership. It means that when you feel emotionally disconnected from your partner, you address it directly instead of seeking validation elsewhere. It means that you don't rationalize small boundary violations, because those small steps lead to devastating betrayals. And perhaps most importantly, it means that if you've been betrayed, the trauma you feel is real and valid. You're not overreacting. You're not being dramatic. You're experiencing a genuine psychological injury that requires time, support, and often professional help to heal. Betrayal reveals something profound about human nature, that we are capable of extraordinary love and devastating cruelty. Often within the same person, sometimes within the same relationship, the question we must each ask ourselves is this: what kind of person do I want to be? When faced with temptation, when feeling unfulfilled, when encountering someone who makes me feel alive in ways my partner doesn't, what do I do? Do I compartmentalize, rationalize, and betray? Or do I communicate, set boundaries, and honor the commitments I've made? Because here's the final truth. Infidelity is a choice. It might be influenced by brain chemistry, shaped by childhood wounds, enabled by opportunity, but at its core, it remains a choice. A series of choices, in fact, each one moving further away from integrity and closer to betrayal. The psychology of cheating shows us that humans are complex, flawed, and capable of justifying almost anything. But it also shows us that healing is possible, that trust can be rebuilt, and that some relationships emerge from the fire stronger and more authentic than before. If you're struggling with trust issues, if you've been betrayed, or if you're trying to navigate the aftermath of infidelity, know this: you're not alone. The pain you feel is shared by millions who have walked this path before you. And while the journey is long and difficult, it's not impossible. The human capacity for betrayal is matched only by our capacity for resilience, growth, and ultimately forgiveness, both of others and of ourselves. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Have you experienced betrayal? Do you believe people can change? What boundaries do you think are essential in modern relationships? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who's struggling. If you found this exploration valuable, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We dive deep into the psychology of human behavior, exploring the uncomfortable truths that shape our relationships, decisions, and lives. Until next time, remember, understanding human psychology doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it can help us protect ourselves, make better choices, and heal from the wounds that others inflict. Stay curious, stay aware, and above all, stay true to your values, because in the end, integrity is the only foundation on which lasting trust can be built.